Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports in the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'll be joined by Nick James. Later on, Lenny and Ronnie, who are going to give us their lowdown and rundown on the sports world. There's a lot of happenings that have been going on in the sports world this past weekend. We have the upcoming Olympic Games, which is creating a lot of buzz. Of course, the NBA Finals and the closing games. But Nick, what was the big headline for you over the weekend?
Well, the Padres just absolutely giving it to the Nationals this weekend was my big thing. I'm sure you were super excited. The big 24-8 win. Cronenworth hits the cycle. Myers with his grand slam. Everyone contributing. We ended up scoring 41 runs in 3 games, and we still didn't even win all 3 games, which is crazy to me. What'd you notice, Willie?
Well, I was watching the end of the Tour de France, and this 22-year-old Slovenian young man by the name of Tadej Pogačar won his second straight Tour de France, easily defeating his rivals by over 5 minutes. It was total domination, and now he's off to the Tokyo Olympics to compete in the Olympic road race. So that was my big takeaway, the Olympics. The Tadej Pogačar in the Tour de France. Before we go too much further, I do want to spend some time letting Lenny give us his lowdown. So go ahead, Lenny, and take it away.
Are you as excited as I am about the opening of the Summer Olympics? Let's talk about what makes the Olympics so special. First, a quick history lesson. Now, you probably already know that the ancient Olympic Games were held more than 200 years ago in Rome. But do you know why they disappeared? Well, frankly, it was a flawed business model. The main problem was there were no revenues. That's because companies hadn't been invented yet, so no sponsorships. There was no money to build venues or to pay athletes. The only way they could even get athletes to compete was, well, to kill them if they refused. It worked for a while, but it really wasn't sustainable. And after a few years, the Olympics went BK. Today, sadly, the Roman Colosseum is in ruins. But the Olympics concept got a second chance when we Americans invented business. And in 1896, the first modern Olympic Games were held in Los Angeles in a brand new Coliseum. But there was still a missing ingredient. TV didn't yet exist. So that which makes the Olympics so magical, profit, was still a bit out of reach. People couldn't really follow the action in magazines, so placing the Viagra ad there made no sense for the Olympics. So when TV finally came along in the late 40s, the Olympic movement blossomed into the kind of business that makes amateur sports viable, and that's big business. It takes big money to pull the Olympics off. Preparation for the Tokyo Olympics have already reached more than $15 billion. In yen, it's 10 times that much, 150 billion. And that kind of money talks. It talks a lot louder than the voices of the 80% or so of the Japanese population who don't even want the Olympics there for whatever reason. Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Japanese citizen, but while you're out in the street with your impotent little protest signs trying to dictate to us what happens in your little country, I'm going to be in my big recliner enjoying me some Olympic croquet.
And we are back. Thank you for that, Lenny. As usual, very cogent, very, very insightful commentary on your part. Thanks so much. Lenny did touch on the Tokyo Olympics that are going to be starting this upcoming weekend. And as you know, there has been already a lot of controversy surrounding these games. Some wonder, especially people in Japan, whether these games should ever be played given the COVID-19 outbreak that's taking place. Already over 60 athletes have been diagnosed testing positive, and some big name athletes already are not going to be able to compete. Nick, what's your take on what's going on with the Tokyo Games? Should they even be played?
Well, when you have the emperor of any country saying they're worried about something, I mean, I would buy into that a little bit. It seems a little higher than the president to me. But as far as the games, for the USA, maybe they shouldn't be played because USA basketball has just started off the exhibition matches getting dominated. who is it, Nigeria? I mean, they beat him by 83 points in like two Olympics ago, and now they're getting beat by a bunch of second string NBA players. I don't know. It's crazy to me. I think the NBA would be lucky to have them canceled at this point.
Well, they did get out to a shaky start, but in the last couple of games, they've really shown a lot of improvement. And recently, they beat Spain in one of the final tune-up games quite handily. They are going to be missing a couple of key players already. Bradley Beal, and just I found out today, Zach LaVine tested positive. Another one of those players are going to make the trip to Tokyo. So already the COVID is having an impact on the game. But my take is that I think the U.S. men have enough players to actually win the gold, and they might be challenged by Spain. But I think in the end, I think the USA will prevail.
I don't know, Willie. We have a bunch of big name players not in the Olympics. Who do we got? Like Kevin Durant's in there, and a bunch of other guys not over there. So it could just be Greece all over again, where we ended up settling.
Nick, you haven't been paying attention. Durant is there. It's just LBJ's not there, but they got enough big game name players. Middleton's going to be joining them next week. So is Devin Booker. They'll be fine. Speaking of the NBA, of course, let's talk about the finals. As you know, the Bucks have a 3-2 edge in the final series. They have a chance to wrap it up tomorrow night. I've been following this series, and it looks to me like CP3 is a little bit worn down, Nick. Does he have enough to lead the Suns to eventually overcome their deficit and win the championship?
You know, Willie, it doesn't happen much where a team is up 2-0 in a playoff series and loses. And you know who it does happen to a lot? CP3. As a Clippers fan, I've seen it happen too many times where he's blown it for us. So I've been saying it from the beginning. I hope the Suns lose, and Chris Middleton and Giannis might be answering my prayer. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out.
The Bucks are tenacious. You mentioned Chris Middleton and Giannis, but don't overlook Drew Holiday. He's sometimes shutting down Booker. Next thing you know, they put him on CP3. It's going to be a tough team to beat. We got Ronnie on the line here. You got something to say about the NBA Finals?
Boom. Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this, and that's a nice tidbit about CP3, Nick. I didn't even realize that. Part of me, my heart is kind of with the Suns, just because I like to see them win. But as a Nets fan, I'm kind of rooting for the Bucks. I'm of the belief in these scenarios, you want to lose to the team that wins the championship. So to be at least a little bit of validation as a Nets fan to see the Bucks win. So, like to see the Bucks close it out.
So because the Bucks are over closer to the East Coast, you want them to win? Is that your logic there, Ronnie?
Well, no, nothing to do with that. It's just more so that the Bucks beat the Nets in the playoffs. If I'm going to lose to a team, I'd like to at least say that I lost to the champion. I think that's a little bit more validating because I think the Nets probably would have beaten the Suns pretty handily if they were in the championship. So that's why I'd like to see the Bucks win.
Yeah, and I got to go against you there because I'm such a bitter fan where the Suns beat the Clippers. So, the Suns, I'm out on them this series. I hope they get out of here.
I'm with you, Nick. The Suns beat the Lakers, so there's no way I can root for them. So that's just the way it goes. Let's switch it over to Ronnie so he can give us some more on his Ronnie rundown. Take it away, Ronnie.
All right, guys, how you doing? We're back. You gotta forgive me if I may seem a little off today. I haven't had a slice of pizza in about 3 months because I just can't get any good pizza where I am. So I think my tomato sauce and cheese levels are kind of low, and it's starting to affect me a little bit. But we're not going to let it affect our picks and anything like that. Speaking of pizza, though, actually, I do want to say go to pepperonispicks.com. You heard me talk about it before. We got 3 new field reporters, and we did a ranking. We did the top 10 pizza places in America. Freddie Fugazi, Mikey Manicatuzio and Steve Stiletto, they all went out and tried the top 10 pizza places in America. What was crazy was they all happened to be in North Jersey. It was wild. We looked all over. The top 10 are all in North Jersey, so you can do a little bit of a pizza tour, go on there, and you may say, hey, well, you're just copying that Barstool guy. What's his name? Dan Portman, something like that. What, you gonna trust a guy with that kind of name judging pizza? All right. Check out Freddie Mikey's. They got a great pizza ranking, and we'll be looking forward to heading back home to get some of that pizza. Anyways, I digest. Back to sports. Baseball, MLB trade deadline coming up. Not that I have any bets for it. I don't really think you can bet on the trade deadline, but I'm really excited to see what happens during that deadline. The biggest names are all the Cubs guys. Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Anthony Rizzo. They all could be shopped, or maybe 2 or 3 of them. Craig Kimbrel, the closer. Trevor Story could be the biggest name of the list of guys to be traded. I'm looking at the Mets to make a deal. I'm looking at the Yankees to make a deal. Those 3 teams, I think, are definitely going to be traded for some guys. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Angels trade for a pitcher, maybe. I think the Angels are right on the cusp of trying so hard to get there. A couple of the other competing teams, maybe the Brewers make a trade for a bat. The Brewers are great. So anyways, we'll be excited to see what happens at the trade deadline. But until then, enjoy and talk to you soon.
Well, the 4 of us on this show never agree on anything. However, we're unanimous on one thing, which is our favorite part of this show is digging into that landslide of letters from viewers like you. This week, we've chosen one from a Liberty Lizardo 9975, who asks, how did LBJ get away with having that friggin' bottle of tequila with him?
Okay, for those of you who aren't paying attention, over the weekend, LBJ attended the Suns playoff game to support his buddy CP3. He was sitting courtside, and underneath his chair, he had a bottle of some tequila that he managed to somehow sneak into the arena. I think it was great. The guy likes to have a lot of fun, so what's wrong with that?
Well, Willie, on a business side, it's brilliant. He has Space Jam coming out. He has this tequila brand that he's been trying to get out there. I mean, he's getting talked about now on our show and many others. But personally, I think it's selfish. If he's there supporting his buddy CP3, don't make it about you. He's butthurt that he's not in the finals. He's got to still be like, hey, I'm still relevant. I'm still here. It's like, dude, you're done, man. You're not getting back there. I'm just sick of LeBron and just another attempt at getting in the headlines.
Yeah, I mean, I basically wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said, Nick. So without having to repeat it, I think it's actually more insulting that he in turn came out and said that he was there to support CP3, because to me it just seems disingenuous. It's all about himself. I agree, it's a good marketing move, but he's just trying to grab the attention and still make it about himself not being in the finals, and it's a bad look, and just further cements my opinion of LeBron James, the human being. Great player though.
Yeah,
I'm tired of hearing all this hate about LeBron James. You guys, you should get a life and quit hating on the guy so much.
Yeah,
he's a great player. He's a fantastic player, but he's a bad guy.
Yeah, there's another angle on this. So I was looking at a close-up of the photo taken at that game, and based on the color of the liquid, that looks like an añejo tequila as opposed to Blanco or Reposado. It's a little richer, more expensive. I probably wouldn't use it in a margarita or something, but maybe a nicer cocktail or just drink. Great.
Well, whatever kind of a margarita or tequila it was, he certainly did get a lot of attention, and I have to agree with Nick for once, at least on that. We could go around in circles on this subject, but we ran out of time, and that's going to have to be it for today's show. I wanted to thank everybody for watching the show and for tuning in, reminding you all to like and comment, to subscribe to the show if you have an opportunity. Any Sports on the Spot questions can be submitted to the Sports on the Spot show at gmail.com, or else just ask the question in the comment section of our YouTube channel. Thanks again for everybody for being here and participating, and we'll see you all next time.
Unbelievable.